χαρά μας. Φιλοξενούμε τον κύριο Κάρλος Villaro Lassen. Είναι γενικός γραμματέας της European Holiday Home Association. Φέρνει την ευρωπαϊκή διάσταση του συνεδρίου. Θα καλέσω τη Βίκη την Τρίφωνα, η οποία είναι η συντονίστρια της συνέντευξης, να παρουσιάσει τον καλεσμένο της. Βίκη.
Καλημέρα σας. Καλημέρα και από μένα. Γεμάτη μέρα χθες. Ελπίζω να ξεκουραστήκατε λιγάκι, να πήρατε και αρκετές γνώσεις, να ήταν χρήσιμο το συνέδριο. Σήμερα, λοιπόν, να ξεκινήσουμε, όπως είπε και ο κύριος Καρόπουλος, με την ευρωπαϊκή διάσταση της βραχυχρόνιας μίσθωσης και έχουμε μαζί μας τον κύριο Κάρλος Villaro Lassen, Γενικός Γραμματέας, Secretary General, European Holiday Home Association. Carlos, please. Welcome to Athens.
Thank you very much.
How is it?
Well, I'm in love. I'm in love with Athens, so
You
very
come
nice
from
to be here.
Denmark?
I come from nightlife, Athens. I've just learned two Greek words, usu and
Raki.
raki. Very, very, very good.
Thank God he knows just these two.
Thank you.
Okay. I was a bit afraid of what
And
is
Yanas.
going.
Yanas.
Okay. Yamas.
Yamas.
Yamas. Great. It's the Greek way of enjoying our life, and it is the Greek way of welcoming tourists. So, let's talk about European Holiday Home Association. What is it?
Well, the EHHA, European Holiday Home Association, is that trying to be the connecting of the dots in the short-term rental industry, which is much, much broader than we think from a society perspective. Or when we sit outside and look into it, we say, oh, short-term rental, an apartment, and noisy guests, and that's it. While it's actually an industry worth billions of dollars, growing investments. We see Japanese banks, SoftBank, buying shares. Do you know Oyo? O-I-O? Oyo? Oyo?
Yeah.
Oyo. Oyo.
Oyo, okay.
You know them? Oyo?
Yes.
I didn't know anything about them 6 months ago. And it's an Indian guy, 25 years old, who made his company 6 years ago. And now he is number 3 biggest hotel chain in the world.
Yeah.
And he says...
Asian. It's mostly
Indian.
in Asia.
Now he has 40,000 plus 60, 100,000 units in Europe for short-term rental.
Oh my God.
And he says, next year I want to be number 1. So if you have something for sale, give me a business card, and if you speak Indian, that would help. So what's the EHHA? It's the connection of this industry where you have the house owner in one end, the house where the guest stays in one end, and the guest in the other end. And then you have the platforms. Expedia, HomeAway, TripAdvisor, Airbnb, they are members with us. Booking.com is becoming member. We have been speaking with them for years. We collaborate with them, so we are collaborating. Big property managers like Oyo, Novasol, Interhome, big pan-European units, and then trade associations. The trade association, my day-to-day job is Denmark. So imagine coming from Copenhagen. It has been raining for 2 months, and the sun comes up at 9:30 in the horizon over there, and then it goes up, the sun is coming up, and people are looking at it. Yeah, and then 20 minutes later, okay, tomorrow. It's dark the whole day, it seems, even when it's day.
You should move to Athens.
And I come to Athens, and you have
Greece,
this beautiful
anywhere.
weather. So my day-to-day job is actually the Danish property managers. And the property managers in Spain, Italy, all around, organize them in trade associations, and then they have joined the EHHA. And then what more, and I think that's important, is that the EHHA also invites in, between the house and the guest, there's channel managers. There are property manager systems. You have Greek property manager systems. There are people who are making money, making the suitcase that you take around, and people saying, oh, there are too many Airbnb guests with all the boom, 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 suitcases going dung, 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 dung. And then Luggage Hero is a company who say, you're checking in at 2 p.m. and your flight came in at 7 a.m. What do you do with your luggage? I can go into an app, have a happy moment, I pay for it, I meet local people, I leave it in a grocery store or in a hotel lobby, and they make money. And 5 companies exist on this industry, and they didn't exist 2 years ago. We have members called, and I'm happy to see representatives from the Tourism Ministry of Greece, because we see complaints, but we also see solutions. We have a member company called Room Monitor, who puts an alarm in the apartment. And if the guests makes too much noise, they have a telephone call. And the telephone says, sorry, you are too loud. And I thought, hey, that's you cannot contact the guests because there's too much noise. And why was the noise? But you know how it is. In 0.0000002, there's a rave party.
Yeah.
If they make too much noise, let's get them out of there because they will destroy the apartment.
Everything, yeah.
And then
so a lot of different businesses have emerged through this market. That's the point.
Yes.
Okay. So you told us about what are the members of the association. What's its goal? What do you want to do besides
connecting dots?
Connecting dots.
The most important, I think, for the industry is that now we are here to stay. We don't need to discuss this. When we had discussions about short-term rental, it was like, oh, we have a crisis and then we can use spare capacity for tourists. But this is just something
it will go away.
It will go away.
It's just fashion or something like that.
Everybody understands that it will not go away. In Europe, we have 11 million hotel beds in total. In the whole of Europe, 11 million hotel beds. In short-term rental, we have 25 million short-term rental beds in Europe. More than the double.
But we're talking about units right now.
No, beds. Beds.
Beds?
Yes.
Beds.
Beds. We have about 4 million to 5 million units. And each unit have 4 to 5 beds. So 5.5 is 25. And we don't even know because statistics
say
are
again
still...
the numbers. How many hotels in Europe?
11 million hotel beds and 25 million short-term rental.
It's huge difference.
We are doubled. In Greece, I would say...
In beds?
In beds.
Okay.
I would say in Greece, if you go to Crete or you go to Ireland, if you go to Denmark, the Danish West Coast, where I come from, we have 280,000 short-term rental beds. Germans love to come, because we are close to northern Germany, and stay in a Danish cottage. The hotels have about 28,000 beds in Denmark, and we have 200. We had 10 times the figures.
So...
what's the goal? What was the goal? The question was.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, I'll make the next question again.
Very short. We need to step up in Greece, in Europe. Otherwise, somebody is out there and wants to kill the sharing economy. And we have to step up and take our responsibility.
Yeah, since right now the BnB beds, let's call it, it's for the short, to make it short. Since the BnB beds are more than hotel beds, that means that it's arrival. The short-term rentals are right now competing strongly. Hotels.
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's interesting to be in Athens. It was wonderful. I was with Urban Adventures, and I thought, oh, come on. I'm not to nightlife of Greece. And it said you will have a nice uso. Okay, that I could count. But how
you took a tour last night.
I took a tour with something called Urban Adventure. And it was a fantastic experience. It was this guy knowing everything, and there was other guys from Romania, and they spoke about how they saw things, and we came to see locals. And Athens and Greece is really interesting. My name is Carlos. That's not very Danish, because I'm from Barcelona, right? In Barcelona, the tourists are getting offended. You cannot be tourist in Barcelona. You destroy the city. They are getting crazy there. In France, they are going around with yellow vests.
Yeah.
And I come here, and you had your protest 5 years ago, but now you have prosperity. You have opportunities, and I can see that you are doing the thing that Barcelona did 15 years ago. When I was a kid in Barcelona, there was 0 tourists in Barcelona. People came to Costa Brava, like people go to Crete. Maybe one time to Barcelona. Been there, done that. Now, people come to Barcelona maybe every year for a short stay, and then or a hop. They stay 3 days in Barcelona and then go to the coast. And people will increasingly see that they will come to Athens, be there for 3 days, go to the coast. Be at the coast and come here for 1 day.
Yeah.
Come here just for 4 days. And not to see Acropolis every time, because it's like the Eiffel Tower. It's fantastic, it's amazing, it's mind-changing. But next time, you need to have something else. And what is that? Well, that's Greece, that's Athens. And you say,
yes, we have a lot of things
what's
to
the
do,
competition? I think when I come with my family, with my kids, I want to be able to have a place where I can make my own food. I want to be close to the authentic Athens, and then I don't look for a hotel product.
So you say that it's a different market share, different kind of
It's
people,
marginal.
maybe, or different kind of trips that these people want to make.
Yes.
We heard yesterday also that I believe Mrs. Mavrokefalou said that from Expedia, the area manager of Expedia, that usually people that make business travels, business trips, they prefer to stay in a hotel. And then when they go at the same destination with their families for holidays, it's very common to choose a short-term rental.
Yes. The problem is that the hotels see now that they can get even bigger if they make restrictions on other types of industries. I think that fight is stupid, because we don't fight on the same guests. If you run a property management, your worst competitor actually is another property. It's not a hotel. And if you run a hotel, your hardest competitor is the hotel next door. But of course, if they can use the law to make restrictions on the other industry, and we ourselves have to look out, because we are young. And as property managers, if there's a lot of properties, we are not very angry about other properties popping up. We think, oh, then we are more in the same boat. But we can see tendencies where we use the law, maybe to say, we want a restriction on this or that, on a platform, or this type of platform, or this type of property, or this type of property manager. And we see fights with professional apartments, apartments 52 weeks, almost hotels, and then where people live themselves, and then semi-products. We see apartments in buildings that were meant for the dentists, or lawyers. But the lawyers moved out, and then you change the apartment.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you see where people used to live, and then people have said, well, you don't pay that much rent, so I'd rather have short-term rental. And then the guy from the government comes and says, oh, we have a housing problem here.
Exactly.
And
That's where we are here in Greece. First, the hotels blame short-term rentals for stealing tourists from them. And then local people are blaming short-term rental for the lack of houses for long-term rentals. And also for the increase of the real estate prices, for the rents, actually, not for the real estate prices, because the owner wants its property to have greater value. So they were trying to say to the government to impose to impose regulations, but mostly restrictions.
yes,
Right now, the government is checking its options, and we think they said that probably no restrictions will be imposed, just some rules about safety inside the apartments. Also, all countries in Europe, at least, they're trying to regulate the market. Right now, what do you think is the best system that's been imposed in Europe?
well, I could say Greece, because you don't have stupid restrictions. But no, because that's actually not necessarily the best. We can see that good restrictions actually increases the market.
What are good restrictions?
And good restrictions, you need to engage with the industry. One size fits all? No, sorry to say. You can have a system that's good for Berlin, where everybody lives for rent. Another that's good for Malaga, where you have a lot of tourism and dependent of it.
And maybe
a third for
different
Greece.
models between the country? I mean, a different model in Athens and maybe a different model in an island?
Safety and security. You need to have a high standard. And we need, as an industry, to really put that very high. Because people are saying, oh, he stays in a short-term rental and that can be in danger of his life. Remember that when we put a guest in an apartment, that's normally where people normally live.
Yes.
That's the most restricted room in your country. That's where people live day to day. So when we put our guests in our own homes, that's actually already the most restricted, and with the highest safety standards. So it's not something that we put them in a basement with no windows and no escapes. It's residential, so you have residential there. But we as an industry need to step up, ensure that. Taxes. We need to pay our taxes, because otherwise we will be looked at as tax evasion, and that's important.
Yes.
Thirdly, you have limits on day limits. Day limits,
we don't right now.
Not in Athens, but around Europe.
Yeah.
We see in London 120 days. That's okay. In the city center, where you have a lot of housing issues. We see in Amsterdam 30-day limit. That's stupid.
30 days in a year?
30 days per year,
maximum.
That is not workable. You cannot even open up for rent before you have to close that down. So day limits is something, every restriction will change the market, and it's not necessarily for better, because then you get bad apartments that are high quality and safety. So you need to have day limits that make sense. 180 is something, use places, that's okay. Because then you say people live there anyway. And then other places you say you have serviced apartments, you have a license system. In Barcelona, they say you can apply for this apartment, so it becomes a short-term rental legal. The problem is, then they said you can rent out and you can ask for a license. And then when they got up to 10,000 licenses, they said, now we don't want any more. They put a cap. Barcelona, you have 20,000 apartments. Maybe you have 25,000 apartments. So you had a lot of illegal apartments on side of the legal. And the guy who got the license, he got a lottery ticket because this is really valuable to sell. So putting up licenses is bad. But I think one thing we need to share is data. And registration scheme, and not license, but registration scheme can be good. So that if you operate in an island or in the countryside, or you operate in Athens, you go in and register. But do it, you as an industry should discuss this with your government and watch out, because some places they say, we have a registration scheme and it starts tomorrow and it's in 1 month. And nobody knows. In Mallorca, in the island of Mallorca, they said, we have 50,000 licenses. We want to open the market. So we'll accept 75,000. An increase of 50%. The government is very kind to Mallorca. Reality was that the real market was 150,000. So in 6 months they had to go from 150.
Not registered.
Yeah. But it was accepted. Now they said, if you're not registered, we will send Guardia Civil.
Same thing here, yeah. Same thing in Greece. We had, there was no registration whatsoever. And then, I believe, last year, Andreas, okay. Last year, they imposed the registration, and everybody has to take its license number, let's say, with no, you don't need to, any paperwork. You just make a registration. And right now, the discussion is about the so-called, thank you, the so-called illegal, I mean, the apartments or the houses that don't have a registration number. We are trying to find a way how to persuade them to register their properties. And what's happening in Europe? How do they spot the unregistered properties?
Good point.
And
Very
how
good
to
point.
persuade them to do something like that, to register?
Well,
because if they don't register, they don't pay taxes. That's the trick.
And sometimes, that's the tricky trick. They want to register and pay their taxes, but then a planning law says, aha, you pay your taxes, but this is illegal according to some planning, or you cannot use this.
Right now, we don't have this.
But we see that around Europe, so the other laws makes the restriction.
Yeah.
So, what to do? That's a very interesting question. And the important thing is you need to look at our industry holistic. You cannot only look at the house owner or the property manager or the platform. And we need to step up and explain governments about that. Because the governments tend to say, who is out there? A big platform. Let's knock them down. And then you guys say, then the big guys pay, that's fine with me. The thing is, they have the big lawyers, so they find a way out, and you get the problem anyway.
Yeah.
And the government has to understand, and I think from an EU perspective, we've made some roundtables, and we will repeat them. And you should make a roundtable, invite the European Commission to tell you about other countries' experiences. In Lisbon, they have a good registration scheme. In Denmark, you know what we do? If you don't register, it's quite illegal. But the good thing is, if you register, you get a tax exemption.
Exception?
If you rent out, you don't need to pay tax for the first 1,000 euros. Right?
Okay.
But if you register,
Το αφορολόγητο.
you don't need to pay tax for the first 2,000 euros.
Okay.
So if you register, you can pay less tax.
Okay.
Why? Because this is...
It's an incentive to grow the market.
Exactly. And the governments want to punish platforms. And then they come after the property manager. And then they come after the one on the platform. But they...
Okay, so it's not only an incentive to grow the market, but it's an incentive for the owners to register
and pay their taxes.
Because they get more profit if they register.
And do you know what happened in Denmark? When they put this new law, they got more tax earnings because many properties registered, and then Yeah, they lost a little bit because they had to get this tax exemption.
Okay. That's
But they
very
won the
interesting.
double. So you need to look at it holistic, and you need to look at this as an industry that will change dramatically. We are not renting out 4 beds and a roof as we did 10 years ago. What you're renting out is something much, much bigger than that. You are plugging in to the modern person. Think about sustainability and the climate. Short-term rental delivers answers to that. Think about job creation. We create jobs, places where the jobs disappear. Think about shops closing down. I think that in Mallorca or Malaga, 30% of every income in the shop comes from tourists. They would close 30%. Think about the good roads we have.
And of course, another thing is that we extend the season, because in Greece we have a huge seasonality due to the coastline.
Yes.
Most of the tourists come here in Greece during summer, and we need to extend this period of vacation. And short-term rentals are able to do that because the cost of having one house in operation during the whole year is much, much less than having a whole hotel in operation when you have 2, 3, 4 bookings.
This is the essence of what we are doing. The thing is, this is about equality. Short-term rental makes it possible for normal people to have holidays and see the Acropolis. You don't need to be a bloody rich American from Florida to see the Acropolis. You can be a normal Dane, a normal German, a normal Bulgarian.
So it's democracy.
This is democracy. And it's even bigger than that, because if you work at a hotel, we know how hard the euro has been to Europe.
Yes.
I think it's terrible what it has done to Europe. I come from Catalonia. I have family who never got into the job market because they were too young, and now they don't have the experience, so now they are too old. And the crazy thing is that when you then get a job, you know, many of you have people working for you. You are tough to your workers. Short-term rental, you are the host of your guest. When we have a guest in our house, we are not employed to make a smile. No, we make a smile because we make our own money when you come here, and you are host
You're the boss,
directly.
You're the boss of yourself.
So this will grow. And one thing more important, we are changing our product, but the product is driven by a huge demand. People want this product. It's not something we invented. You saying, oh, I have this empty apartment. What could I use it for? Maybe I should rent it out. No, it was the guest who said, I want to go to Athens. I want to go to Athens. I cannot afford this beautiful and fantastic place. Congratulations on this event and this very beautiful venue. But just to say, the guests is creating, this is demand-driven. And do you think, when we speak about too many tourists, do you think there will be less tourists in 10 years? I heard one guy saying, in 1 year, we tend to overestimate how much will happen. We sit and make our plans. In 2020, I will do this, I will grow. And we overestimate what happens.
But when we're talking for a long term...
10 years, my God, things will change in 10 years dramatically. And this will be the one of the surviving things. So we need to get good regulation. We need to get together and work together. We cannot sit from a European Holiday Home Association and say to the Greek government anything. They will see, hey, you guys, go back to Brussels or Denmark. They want to speak with you, and you want to speak with them. And you want to speak with each other because the industry is definitely getting much bigger